Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our online program. Today, we are going to finish our lesson on our topic of censorship. And today we're going to look at some work samples where students have really made some big mistakes that they probably shouldn't have made. But I want you to look at these work samples and think along with us so that you understand where you can improve your own writing. Because this time I asked you to do something a bit more complicated. You had to do steel paragraphs, and one of the texts was a bit difficult to do this. So it was partly, I think, my fault because it wasn't the right text for the skill. But you also forgot my class also forgot lots of things that they should have been doing that they haven't. So let me just share the document. Okay, Asylum, can you see the document?
Yes, I can.
Thanks. Okay, you're the only person I can see at the moment. All right, so we did look at some beginning ones, but when we come to this paragraph, so let me just fix that up. Okay, when we come to this paragraph, there's lots of silly mistakes here. You've gotten lost. You have gotten completely lost, and I want to get you back on track so you don't do this in the exam. Okay, it's easy to fix, but we've got to go back to basics. All right, so while this isn't fun to teach, this isn't fun to listen to, but it's extremely important. So I'm going to make sure you're focusing all the time, okay, because it's difficult for me to teach this stuff. All right, one-on-one it would be much easier, but doing it to a whole class is really complex. So bear with me. If you don't understand something, please ask. All right, if I'm not explaining myself clearly, please ask. All right. Put your hand up and make me clarify it for you, because this is challenging for me too. All right, especially this early in the morning. I'm a night owl. Okay, so here's these are just ones that I randomly pulled. Okay, but a lot of you made the same mistake. So we're going to go back to the basics and drill this into our minds. What should the first sentence be? In your introduction, what should the first sentence be?
Thesis.
Right, because these are our steel paragraphs. This is paragraph 2 of our essay. So we should start with the thesis. Okay, state your thesis, the S one. The text titled How to Save Lives, Censor Social Media a Little clearly has the best supported case. The author uses okay, is that a thesis? Is there a thesis there?
No.
No.
Yes. Okay. Clearly has the best supported case. You have to put that in your first sentence for your steel paragraph. Remember, this isn't the introduction. You've done your introduction. So this is paragraph 2 of your 4-paragraph essay. So you've got the text title, good. You've got the best supported case, or the not well supported case, not the best supported case. Okay, that is correct. So that's perfect so far. The author, what's the next sentence supposed to be? We've got our S. What's the next one?
Technique.
Technique. Let's see if there's a technique here. This is just literally how I mark your essays. The author uses a historical event to support their claim that people cannot manage information well, which can be dangerous to society. Is there a technique mentioned there?
Yes.
Yes.
There is. And is it linked to a claim that the writer is talking about, the author? Is it linked to a claim?
Yes.
Okay. In sentence 2 of your steel paragraph, I want you to be where the author uses and put the technique in straight away. There are a lot of people that are forgetting that. Okay. So I want you to use the sentence starters that I give you. There's probably about 7 people in the class that don't have to because they're on track. All right, but for the rest of you, I want you to write this the way I've taught you, this conservative way, because it's going to get you the marks. The author uses a historical event to support their claim that. Now, I would love it if your T sentence. Oh, hang on, I've lost control of the vehicle. I love this. This is a perfect T sentence because it has the claim. Okay, it mentions the claim. The RLA like you to use the word claim. Okay, we could use the word argument, but like there's a big argument and there's lots of claims to support the argument. So I want you to put this in. I want you to begin your sentence. Your sentence, the author uses an historical event to support their claim. What I like about this even more is that they explain the claim, okay? That people cannot manage information well, which can be dangerous to society. That is the claim, all right? So now our T sentence has the technique and the claim and explain the claim, all right? So show the claim, tell us what the claim is. That's really good. I was reading this thinking, yes, this student's got it, they've got it. I have no idea who it is. For example, it's someone from this class though. For example, all right, so our next one is the E, example, right? Is there a quote there? Oh, there is a quote there. So, so far, so good. So I expect the quote will be from the text. These defamatory rumours were not squashed or censored. They whirled around the state and actually whipped up a social frenzy. All right. We've got a quote. Is the quote a part of the historical event? Yes. It's because part of history was it was whipping up in a social frenzy. It shows that. Now, what's the next sentence after the example?
Explain.
Explain. This is where you're all falling down. Well, not all of you, but this is where most of you fall down. So I want you to really read this. Have they explained? What are you supposed to explain? What are you supposed to explain?
Why it makes the principal the case?
Why what?
Why it makes the principal the case? Why the example makes?
Sort of, but not quite. You're supposed to explain the technique, not what the person's saying, but if you explain what the person's saying, that's helpful. Okay, but you have to, the whole purpose of this sentence is to explain the technique. So let's see if this person's talked about the historical fact. Okay, shows that information without proper management can lead to dangerous occasions in which it can be really easily manipulated. Next, the author provides us what can happen with information if it's not handled with care. Have they talked about a technique? Have they explained the technique here at all? I want you to reread it and reread it again and think, does it talk about the technique, historical facts?
No, I don't see.
No. So can you work out what they haven't said makes this argument more credible, right? You have to have at least this technique makes it more credible. If you can explain the technique even more, it's better. I'll show you a good example later. So this person has forgotten they're arguing which is the best supported. Now they're just saying that they're arguing that management of people mismanage information. They've forgotten what they're arguing. You're arguing about the technique and whether it's persuasive and credible to support their claim. They've forgotten to do that, okay? Because you're not following Steele. You're not thinking about Steele. A lot of you aren't thinking about Steele when you're writing this. You're just going off, being creative, going with the flow. No, this has to be a logical, structured argument, all right? Now, a lot of you fell into this trap. So today, when you're writing, I want you to go back to Steele. What should the sentence start with? That will keep you on track. If this person started with, the author, I can't remember hang on, let me just go back. I can't remember exactly what it is. Even I forget, and I half created it. Okay, so if we go back to Steele, okay, when you're explaining the effect, the use of a historical fact makes the argument well supported and more credible. No one can deny history. That would be a good sentence, right? I want you to use these sentence starters because you're getting off track. Understand? Am I making my point? Because this is messy. This is not going to get good marks. Sun.
Oh, teacher, I have a question. Like, instead of for example, and if we don't use the quote, like can we summarize the events?
You could summarize the event, but include a quote. They're expecting 2 quotes. This is what my theory is. I'm not 100% sure, but when I had a student who only put 2 quotes in for the whole essay, she got 0, and it was beautifully written, and it really freaked me out. Okay, so I'm really encouraging you to put the 2 quotes per paragraph. If the machine AI is marking it, and maybe AI will mark yours, maybe a person will, but I'm thinking of a computer scanning it. You've got to have the quotation marks and the commas, you've got to have that punctuation. They mark you on punctuation as well, all right? So the way I've designed this paragraph shows the machine that you can use commas properly and then quotation marks. So it's all part of my design for you to get marks. So that's why I want you to follow this. But thank you for the question. Xylem.
When we write in the code, do we need to have very exactly with the same with the paragraph they have given, because we cannot copy paste like we did on our practicing session. So
yeah, you'll have to type it out. I don't think you can cut and paste from the text in the exam. You'll have to actually type it out. And yes, it needs to be exact. So good question. That's a really good question though. So you're thinking of things that I don't think that you're thinking, which is really helpful to me. I can't read all those brains. It's too difficult for me. Okay, Yuzia, what's your question?
Teacher, I would like to know, in the first sentence, do we have to put a dash between best and supported? Because, I've seen the text and some of them put it.
Yeah, it's okay if you do, it's okay if you don't. It's one of those grammar rules. There's a lot of grammar rules that are slowly changing, and you can do both. For example, I had a big investigate on this one. This one started me on a big journey of learning myself, because when you put A and the word starts with H, it's supposed to be an. Oh, well, sometimes. If it sounds like a vowel, historical, it sounds like historical. So we're supposed to put an "and" there. But when I looked it up, Americans don't do that. So yes, but so you could do it or you could not do it. Like there's just some grammar rules that are slowly evolving, and people are using both. So best supported, whatever they use in the question, however they write it in the question is how you write it. That's a good tip. That they will show you the right way. They will show you the way that they want. So that's why you've got to really look at the wording of the question. If it says best supported case without a dash, then you write best supported case. I came up with the answer eventually. Yeah, that would be my best recommendation. Any other questions? Because these are really good. You little thinkers. All right. Well, let's go on. So this sentence should start, the use of, the second E, the use of a historical event makes the argument more credible, because no one can deny that history didn't happen. You can't say it didn't happen, even though some people do in some cases. So that's why this is what they're really doing. What they're really doing is arguing. They're sort of proving that it was bad. They're proving that it was a frenzy, that it was dangerous for society. That's what the student's arguing. But you're not arguing the topic. This person's arguing the topic. You've got to argue whether it's best supported. Okay, it doesn't matter about the topic. It's about the persuasive techniques that the author has used to convince you that you're looking at. So this person got all mixed up with the detail and forgot their job, which is the use of the technique of blah blah, of historical facts or a historical event. Okay, so that's where they've gone wrong. And then because they did that, they did the same thing for the next one, the text. Sorry, so they blew this. Next. Okay, so this is text. This is the next T. Okay, because they're saying next, so this is the next second T, T-E-E. The author provides us what can happen if information is not handled with care. Okay, if it's not handled with care. But that's not what the essay's about. Next, the author, you're supposed to write the technique. There's no technique here. This is a T sentence. There's no technique. Therefore, if there's no technique, the quote's wrong, because there's no technique supporting it. Okay? And when they describe, so they've got no technique, they need to reinforce it. The author, again, uses historical evidence to support the claim that, the consequences of misinformation. That's what the sentence shouldn't have been. Got to go back to Steele. Okay, so let's just go on. The text, the text, and then it goes straight into a quote, right? The text, it didn't take long for a confused citizen, Edgar Madison Welsh, 28, from North Carolina, to take the bait to another level. He walked into the comic ping pong pizza shop with an assault rifle with the aim of damaging the alleged child sex ring. Describes the dangers of misinformation. Well, so what? You're not arguing about the dangers of misinformation. You're arguing whether the evidence that they've used, that's a historical fact, is credible or not. Okay, so the whole rest of this, all this is a waste of words because you haven't, this person hasn't followed Steele or Steele. All right. If you start with my sentence starters, if you're not at the top of the class right now, use my sentence starters. They will save you. You can get between 4 and 6 marks just using my strategy if you follow it exactly. Okay. You don't have to be, just get the GED. You don't have to be brilliant. You just have to get it, right? Because that opens doorways. Okay, you'll never use it again. You've just got to get to university if that's your plan. If you want to get to university, well then you just got to get your GED. So I'm giving you the most simple way of passing the essay part of the GED. Okay, so use it. So this person's just got totally lost and waffled on. It's a really good example about how someone starts to write well and then they just change their mind and then they go off on a complete different tangent. It's very common in exams, but you cannot do it in your exam. So I'm glad whoever you are did this because a lot of people have learned a lot of things from it because it's not great. Like if the whole essay was like that, it'd probably get a 2 out of 6. Okay. 2 out of 6. So let's look at, now that's interesting. Oh no. Oh, okay, that's part of that still, I think. I don't know what that is. Oh no, hang on. Maybe I've cut and pasted this incorrectly. Had occurred shows that, okay, therefore the text, how to save lives, censor social media little is the best argument supported by a historical event that had occurred. Shows that information without proper management can lead to dangerous occasions where it can be easily manipulated, making the argument credible and well supported through the use of historical facts. Okay, they finally got to credible, but that doesn't belong. That belongs in the second E. That belongs in the second E of T. All right, you can put it at the end as well. That's a beautiful ending, actually. That is a beautiful L sentence. Perfect, because they've got the summary of their argument as well, but they didn't actually address it in the essay, in that second part of the essay. That just wasn't right. But if you want an example, I'll post these. This is like a really good L sentence. They got to it, but still not savable. Okay, let's look at sample 2. First sentence, S. Is this an S? The text titled How to Save Lives, blah, blah, clearly presents the best supported case. Is that the perfect sentence? That's the perfect S sentence. That's how I've taught you to write it. Okay, so far so good. Now we're looking for T. The author uses a historical event to support their claim that people cannot manage information well, which can be dangerous to society. Perfect. We've got the technique, and then we've got the word claim, and then they've explained the claim. Perfect. So our next sentence should be what? We've got the S, we've got the T.
Example.
Okay. Now I will usually ask you to write for example, but let's just see how this sentence goes. The utilization of Pizzagate as an example, there's a word missing there, as a credible example, right? Probably the word credible goes there. You can't just put the utilization of Pizzagate as an example and then a quote. It doesn't make sense. Okay, then we've got a quote. Pizzagate is still a very good example of how dangerous social media can be due to the tsunami of information flooding our screens. Suggests how misinformation can be easily accessible. All right. First of all, this person again is getting lost because they're not start using the sentence starters. There should be a full stop there. And they should say the technique of using Pizzagate as a historical fact suggests, I don't think suggest is a strong enough word, proves the claim of how misinformation can be easily accessible. Okay. But again, have they talked about the technique here? Is there a mention of the technique?
No.
No, this person's done the same thing as the last person. They've got lost in it and they started talking about the topic rather than which is the best right, which is the best supported argument. Okay. We're not asking you if information is easily accessible. We're not asking a question about, we're not asking you about the misinformation. We're asking you whether it's well supported. Okay. Additionally, so now here's our transition word. Additionally, so I know that there's going to be an XT. Let's see if they've done any. Oh, actually, let me see what else is here. What have I written? Okay. Oh yeah. When you do your oh, they've discussed the claim a little bit. They haven't said the claim. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. I've said enough. So let's go on. Additionally, the author provides the consequences of leaking information, which is true. Can you use the word claim? Can you start with my sentence starter? Don't look, there's a full stop there and then suggests. Oh, hang on, no, we're not here. Sorry. Additionally, the author provides the consequences. We're supposed to be talking about the claim. All right. I think it's better if they like the word claim. The author's claim about the consequences of the leaking information, which, all right. Then it goes straight into the quote. It's okay. So what they haven't done here is talked about. Why can't I get rid of that? Oh, that's so annoying. Hang on. Again, I can't see the clear T and E. It's all too blurred. I really want you to section it out because you're getting lost because this person hasn't talked about, this person's given, what have they done? They're talking about Comet Ping Pong. They've got a quote, but they sort of jump straight into the quote. They haven't got their technique sentence right. There's no technique sentence there. Additionally, the author provides the consequences of leaking information. Well, you're supposed to talk about a technique. So the technique's gone. If you don't talk about the technique, and I actually had a teacher that I'm working with in Myanmar who showed me a sample of an exam, and the student didn't talk about the technique. And the feedback from the exam was the student summarized the text, the information, but didn't analyze it. If you're talking about the effect of the technique, you are proving to them you are analyzing. Okay, that's why it's the hardest one. So you've got to have a technique to analyze. There's no technique here. They're just talking about how this person's proved that it's misleading, and here's a quote to prove that it's misleading. But that's not what the question is. Okay, you have to discuss, you have to follow the T. The fact that one misleading information can threaten lives shows how dangerous the unreliable source is. Aren't we proving that this is a historical fact is reliable? So be careful of your wording. Because of these reasons. No, you don't ever start a sentence with because. Can you put that in your memory banks now? Don't ever start a sentence with because. That's a connect. I don't know what the official term is, but it connects two phrases together. Because I don't like shopping because I spend too much money. It links two phrases together. You never begin with because, right? Because therefore is the smart essay word. The text, how to save life sentences, is clearly the best supported case. So you've just said it was unreliable, and now you're saying it's the best supported case. Okay, so again, this starts strong, but gets messy in the TEE. All right, let's, what time is it? Okay, this is really tough. So let's have a 5-minute break now. Can you come back in 23 past 11? Okay, time to come back. Time to come back. I know this is hard. I know this is hard, but I really want you to take some lessons from this, all right? I think just because of concentration fatigue, we'll look at two more. We'll look at one problem one, then we'll look at one that's better. Okay, but this student did tell me it took them an hour to write this one paragraph, but they were being really careful with getting it right. So there's still some problems, but I'll share. So we'll do another one that's got problems, and then we'll look at a good sample, okay? All right. So, all right. So this text, the text, how to save lives, is the best supported case compared to the text, the First Amendment is the spirit of America. Okay. There are problems here. What are they? Is that an S sentence? There's a problem here. What is it?
It's not full.
Right.
Title.
Yeah, you have to have the full sentence, okay? The full, whatever the title is, you can't abbreviate it. Okay. All right. Is the best supported case compared to the First Amendment spirit of America? You don't actually have to put that in. You don't have to mention, in paragraph 2, you don't have to mention two texts, okay? Does it make it bad? No, but you don't have to do it. You save your words for something else. All right. The author, so that we've got this S, this should be a T. The author illustrated the argument with a historical event. Okay, do I like it? Do I like it? Illustrated. It doesn't quite work, but it would pass. I'd really like you to use the word technique, only because it shows that you know about writers' techniques. Is it? But that's okay. Okay, so the author illustrated the argument with a historical event. Have we got our technique? Right, so normally I'd say the author uses the technique of, but okay, this is going okay. So the argument with a historical event to point out the fact that people were not managing information that they get access to very well to support his claim. Okay, so is that a T sentence that mentions the word claim and explains it? Maria's nodding. I agree with Maria. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. For example, I'm expecting a quote. That's good. I've taught you that. Here's the quote. Does it come from the text? Yes, it does. Okay, so then you're supposed to say the use of the technique. But anyway, providing a factual and solid historical event, they've talked about the technique, makes his argument more credible when compared to the other text. That's the best effect sentence I've seen. Okay, so I will post this after I teach. I will post this PowerPoint, this document. So you've got some models, and I've got notes there. One of them was wrong, though. I should delete that one, actually. Okay, that was just me working too late at night. Okay, so I love that effect sentence. Provides a factual and solid historical event. I love the way that they've said factual and solid. They haven't said an historical event. They've got a factual and solid one, reinforcing the writer here, one of you, is reinforcing that its historical event cannot be denied. It's a fact. They've got the word credible in there as well. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, that sentence actually lifts the whole essay. If you've got a good E sentence effect, if you're explaining the technique and analysing it, it lifts your whole essay. That's what they're looking for. All right? The author uses the historical event again to support his other claim. All right? I've changed that a little bit. The author uses the same technique. Don't ever be vague. What technique? What technique are you talking about? Make sure you say the technique again. Make sure that they know that you know what a technique is. All right? Otherwise, you could be just making stuff up. Oh, the author uses the same technique. Doesn't mean you know it. So the verifiable event, again, to support his other claim, which is the intricate problem of not censoring social media is dangerous. It's not quite right sentence, but so all right. For example, okay, so we've got the technique sentence. Have they used the word claim? And have they explained what the claim is? Is Maria the only one in this class today? Are you all daydreaming about food? Are you hungry? Is that the problem? I'll ask the question again when I can remember it. I've forgotten my question. My question is, oh, this is the T sentence. Now I'm expecting a technique. I want the word claim and I want the claim explained. Technique, claim, explain. Does this person have a technique? Yes, we've talked about it, the historical event. Do they use the word claim?
Yes.
Right. Do they explain the claim? What is the claim? Have they told us?
Yes.
Yes, the problem with not censoring social media. That sentence actually is a bit awkward, but I understand what this person's trying to communicate. They would get some marks off for that awkward sentence. Okay, this is good. All right, so now we've got, now we're expecting an example. Do we have an example? We've got, yes, we've got beautiful short example from the text. I guess if you can't cut and paste from the actual text, the shorter the quote, the better, because you've got so much other writing to do. Okay, the use of, oh my goodness, they're following my advice. I feel like there's some hope in the world. The use of a historical event to point out the danger of information not being censored on social media makes the credibility of the argument stronger. Excellent, excellent. Okay, this person's on their way. Therefore, it is obvious that the text How to Save Lives, censor social media a little, perfectly supports the author's claims with the evidence of a historical event. What a beautiful link sentence. This was pretty good. It's good because they've followed my advice mostly with my sentence starters. My sentence starters keep you on track. All right, so I want you to, that's the thing to remember now. You're not thinking about steel. I mark it exactly the way I've talked about it today. I look for the S, I look for the T, I look for the quote, does the quote match the technique? I look for that. Do they link it? Do they explain it? Do they explain the claim? All right, they're all the things I'm looking for. The marking, I must admit to you something. The marking criteria is quite different to my marking criteria. All right, the marking criteria of the RLA exam, the essay part, is quite complex. So what I've done is I've created a marking criteria. And if you do that, you're meeting all of their criteria, but their criteria is just so complex and unfathomable. You know the word unfathomable because I've taught you that word. Okay, so they're all the things you have to include. This was a pretty good example. Let's look at one more. This was good, but this is the one that the student said, oh, teacher, this took me an hour to type. They're quite worried about how they're going to do the exam, but because of the time restrictions and, the thinking you have to do to get your sentences right. But let's look at, we've looked at some bad things, but let's try and find some good things here. What has this student done that's clever? That's your challenge. Okay. The text titled How to Save Lives, Censor Social Media a Little, clearly represents the best supported argument. Is that the perfect S sentence? Why is it perfect?
It states the thesis well.
States the thesis clearly and simply and strongly. So beautiful sentence. I like that. Clearly represents the best. I didn't teach you that. So this student's thought of that way of expressing himself. It's a good one for you to take. Clearly represents the best supported case. Sounds sophisticated. Okay, firstly, the author suggests that social media needs to be censored because people are not managing the information that they get easily. That's a bit awkward there, but okay. So firstly, the author suggests, what is this person talking about?
Summary.
Yeah, yes, but instead of the author suggests, what's the other word that I want you to use?
Argues.
Well, this is really the claim. Okay, the author claims that. So yes, your words were correct, but I want you to use the word claim. That would make this better. I just know they like it. Over the years, I'm slowly working out things from trial and error. Okay, so you're lucky you got me this year. Yeah, so really there should be an S and there should be a T sentence, but they haven't, but they've explained the claim, which I want you to do in the T sentence, but it's okay here. I'm just making it easier for you to say that the author uses the technique of blah, blah to support the claim, blah, blah. But this person's done it a little bit differently, but it's fine. Okay, to support their suggestion, claim. To support their claim, the author provides a historical event. Okay, now we've got the technique. So we've got to state your thesis, a claim, then the technique, and an example. Okay. And they've got, so Pizzagate as an example. Now, I really want, for example, comma, quote. This student has said, in the example, a leaked email from the White House became defamatory rumours and were being spread to flame up a social frenzy. The right use of a historical event not only reinforces the credibility of the argument, but also advocates the author's suggestion. Okay, there's a problem here. What's missing? There's no quote. There's no quote. They've paraphrased. Now, in lots of essays, if you go to university and you're writing essays, you are allowed to paraphrase. You're allowed to explain the idea in your own words. But I really do believe that we need a quote for each of your arguments to get the marks, and it shows off your punctuation use. All right? So that is the problem here. But this sentence, is this the second E? Does this explain the effect of the technique?
Yes.
Thanks, Heather. It really does. The right use of this historical event reinforces the credibility of the argument, but advocates the author's claim. Okay, that's beautiful. Right? So the only problem is the quote. Furthermore, so what am I looking for? I'm looking for my T again. The author claims that social media is a tsunami of misinformation that can be dangerous if left uncensored. The author emphasizes an historical event. Okay, so this person doesn't start with the technique. He starts with the claim and then hits with the technique. That's fine as long as they're close together. But if you're unsure, just follow my advice. Okay, so this is all correct, even though it's slightly changed the teal paragraph. Okay, the author emphasizes the historical event happened at the pizza shop, okay, to make their claim valid. So again, what's this sentence doing? Why can't I actually, hang on, let me find it. So we've got the technique. They've talked about the claim and the technique. What is this sentence doing? You need to know. Why does that? Can you see the box that's coming up on my screen, or can you read that sentence?
Yes. You can see the box.
Oh, it's so annoying. I don't know how to get rid of it. All right. So have a look at that sentence. What is that sentence doing? I'm not getting you. I'm getting you to think about where does it fit in the teal framework.
Happening.
They've talked about the technique. This is really the explanation to make their claim valid, okay, to make their claim credible. It's actually the E, the second E in T, okay? They've done it before. They've done it before the quote. That's okay, but again, I'm just showing you a good example, but yours doesn't have to look like this. You can follow my pattern and it'll be just as good. For example, okay, we've got our example. Is it a quote? Yes, it is a quote. Here. This submission of the incident, the word submission's wrong here. This incident from the historical event, so we've got the technique, we need the explanation, strongly underlines the claim. Strongly underlines the claim that uncensored information could lead to life-threatening situation and clearly supports the validity of the author's claim. Okay, it's got everything in it. This has everything in it except the quote at the beginning here, the first TE. But everything else is pretty close to perfect. All right. Now, I want you to reflect on this. Hopefully you've got your own, you know what you wrote. What it has after this mini lesson, what has changed for you? What have you learned? What are you going to do differently?
Oh yeah, suggestion.
Follow my suggestions. That would be great. By the end, maybe that's not so, if you're really competent, you can mess it up a little bit. But if you want to go into the exam, you don't have to be ultra fancy and you don't have to be ultra clever. You can just follow my guidelines and you'll do okay. All right. I don't want you to feel like you have to be so clever and so smart and sophisticated. You don't. All right. I'd rather you write simply and clearly following my instructions than get too fancy and sophisticated and mess up your argument. It's got an essay is clear, logical steps, like a mathematical equation. Really, it's all just logical steps. So if you follow what I've given you here, this is a steal, all right. This is a steal. Then if you're following those sentence starters, you're more likely to stay on track. All right. So you don't have to think so hard for the essay because you've got this in your head already. You just need, pardon me, you just need to fill in the gaps. All right. And you can do really well. All right. So let's go back to the text. So if we're talking about the First Amendment is the spirit of America, I want you to find two techniques, right? First of all, that we're gonna say are bad. This is the one we're proving that it isn't well supported. Okay. So we need to find some techniques here. So let me read the first bit to get through. There aren't techniques here. The techniques come a little bit later. America is the greatest nation in the world, and our First Amendment right of freedom of speech is a beacon of light for many other nations suffering under the darkness of oppression. These amendments make America the most free people in the world. These amendments completely capture the supreme spirit of America and the American people. Now, I did say to you when we first read this, what's the tone of this?
Opinion, personal feelings.
That's the technique. That's the technique. Sorry?
Exaggerate.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, it sounds like they've exaggerated it. Like, is America really the freest country in the world? I don't think so. I could write a good essay saying that they're not. Okay. I don't know. I could write a good essay just working out what freedom is. It's a pretty big abstract concept. So, but there was something else. It's filled with patriotism. Now, that's not a technique, okay? But if you notice the tone, you might say in this patriotic text, in the patriotic text, the First Amendment is the spirit of America. Okay, you can just drop things in like that and still stick to the steal. Okay, so this is patriotic, which sort of does undermine its credibility a little bit because it's biased. We know patriots are biased. They love their country so much they won't see another argument. Okay. It is unfathomable to think that any true Americans could support the censorship of social media or any other media platforms. To agree to the form of censorship is surely treasonous to our great country and all its citizens. There's no real techniques here, okay? It is just, so far, it's just personal opinion. There's no facts, there's no experts, there's no science. It's completely subjective opinion. When you attack this, you're going to talk about the subjective opinion. There's no facts. And this is a great example. Actually, the first one, this is a great example. These amendments make Americans the most free people in the world. These amendments make people capture the supreme spirit of America. Okay, that's a really good example of her providing subjective opinion. Simon.
Yes, when we try to point out that it is a personal opinion, can we use it like again and again for both 2 times? Like first time you will use it like this is you will give an example and explaining that this is an opinion, and can you do that again for the next technique, for the second technique?
Okay, my answer is only if you can't find another technique. right? We had a problem in the first text. There was only one technique, the historical fact, all right? That was our problem. So we had to do 2 claims and use the same technique. Now this has other techniques, all right? So if you can find 2, it makes you look clever. There's a fault in that other text. Usually I teach it earlier. It's partly my issue. Okay. Firstly, okay, so now we're getting to an argument. Firstly, if we let the erosion of our First Amendment rights, it will send a message that all amendment rights need to be attacked and rethought. They will want to then take away our right to bear arms. And the next minute, they'll be bursting into our houses to seize what they like. What technique, what poor technique is this writer using? Besides
Slippery slope focus.
the slippery slope fallacy. If you don't want to use that language, you could just say the logic isn't, there's no logic behind this. You cannot predict the future. How could she say this was going to happen? Like it's ludicrous. Ludicrous, absurd. Good words. You know, this claim's ridiculous because she cannot predict that. She cannot tell that. All right. So you've got 2 techniques so far. Subjective opinion without any supporting facts. And you've got the poor logic here. This is not someone scientifically thinking through a problem or critically thinking through a problem. This is just someone going, oh, panicking. Oh, everything's going to go wrong if we do this. Okay? And it's to manipulate you. It's to make you feel fear. So that's what the slippery slope argument is. Trump used them a lot in his presidency. He used slippery slope fallacies all the time to make people frightened. Oh no, it's like they're like the marijuana. We don't want everyone doing drugs. All the children will be doing drugs. Oh no, all our rights will be eroded. All our rights will be eroded away, and we'll be powerless. Like it's just not a logical and acceptable argument. So that they are things like if you're making notes, I would, and for this one, for the slippery slope fallacy. Thanks, Pray. I'm getting your messages. All right. So what did I just say? It was because I've been sick, my brain's not working well. What was I saying? What did I want to write down? Let me have a look at the text again. That oh yeah, the claim is okay, that's one thing I'd say. This is okay. Have a look at the chat box. When you're explaining the effect, you can say it's not only not credible because it's not logical, it is manipulative to make the reader feel fear to get them to agree with the author's subjective opinions. All right, that is a really good second E, explain the technique. All right, that it's manipulative. And what's the effect of that? To make the reader feel frightened to support their argument, but it's not logical. All right, so that's the way you could handle it. Let's see if there are any other techniques. Oh, there aren't. Okay. Oh, yeah. It all starts with taking away our right for free speech. But let's just imagine if they win and our social media platforms are heavily censored. Could you honestly say that you would trust Mark Zuckerberg to get it right? Do you remember us talking about this? Like who says that Mark Zuckerberg would be making these decisions? Again, this is manipulative. Okay, it's not only subjective, it's not logical because she cannot predict the future. She's making us think something that's not going to happen. All right, with her manipulative subjective opinions. Could we trust that he would carry out this with fairness and consistency? Could we trust that his political biases would not interfere with his decision making? Okay, she uses the technique of repeated rhetorical questions, but she doesn't have any evidence. So another technique you could talk about was her use of rhetorical questions to manipulate you into thinking of a future that may not happen. Okay, so we've got 3 techniques: subjective opinion, slippery slope fallacy, or no logic. The rhetorical questions that prove nothing. They just make us think. There's no evidence that any of these suggestions will even happen. Okay, Censoring our right to free speech harms us as a nation. As the leader of the free world, we deserve our rights to free speech. We deserve the right to express our disagreement with the government action. Taking it away would simply render us powerless. Okay, so you've got 3 techniques there to choose from. All right, now I seriously want to go back to slideshow. Oh, hang on, I've got a problem here. Current slide. Okay. Oh. All right. So what I want you to do is follow this scaffold. All right. Now, obviously, you're going to write this essay, but what I want you to do is I want you to look at your second paragraph again and rewrite it using the STEEL framework. All right. Then I want you to write the third paragraph. I want you to write the essay, but I want you to really use this. Get this perfect before you start playing with it. All right. Really get this perfect. If you do this, you'll be fine. You can't fail if you do this unless you're talking about the wrong topic, but you're going to get the topic. All right. So that's my my ask of you. Now, when what's the day? Sorry, let me just get my diary out. Today's the 13th, so maybe we can have this due by the what will I say? The 23rd. The 23rd of February. Okay. So I've given you a bit over a week to do this. Again, I hope, I know I have no power over you, right? I know I've got no power, but I really hope, this is me setting culture of the classroom up too. I really hope that you do this and take some pride in it yourself. Like, take on the challenge. I'm going to really try and do that detailed paragraph, those paragraphs perfectly, and follow the model. All right, and take some time on it. I'm giving you more time than I normally do because I want you to take your time and really take some pride in your writing. If you follow this scaffold, if you follow this, you should do really well. Okay. So from now on, in lessons, we're going to go through text quickly. We're going to be writing more now that we're okay, and now that we're I've taught you all the main things now. I've taught you all the main things to include. There's one thing I haven't taught you is what if there's no title of the text. I might do that next lesson. I'll teach you that trick. All right, so we'll start a new topic next week. And I'll teach you how to do a paragraph, an introduction if there's no text title, because you don't know how to do that politely. And then I think I've taught you all the tricks. And then from then on, it's just practice, practice, practice. Okay. I will be giving you an in-class essay to do, an exam style one in exam conditions in a week or two. Okay. Just so you get used to the idea of how quickly you've got to work. And if you're stressed for time, just go back to that simple STEEL. It will help you get through. You're not thinking, oh, how will I write the next sentence? You've already got a starter. Okay, anyone learn anything today that they'd like to share? Thanks, Salem. I was just thinking that no one learned anything and that you all were daydreaming about your lunch. Salem, what did you learn?
I learned that we should write clearly, separately about the STEET paragraph without in a complex way. Great,
separate it out. It just makes your writing look better. Until you're masters of the English language, because some of you are still making, sentence structure mistakes. So it helps get rid of those. Thank you. Heather.
I learned that to follow your guidelines well, and also explain the techniques really well, and by using the strong vocabulary.
Okay. Explaining the techniques is really what we'll be working on for the rest of the time we're together now, because that is the hardest thing to explain. That's the crux of the essay. That shows the smart student from the not so smart student. So we're going to refine those with some work soon. Aspa, what did you learn today?
The line is I have to stick with the C paragraph, and I need little more time to read other people's essays, and I want to more creative explaining the about the techniques and many things like that.
Yeah.
I think I was a little too weak in this.
Okay, well, that's right. So now we've got the only way we're going to get stronger is to practice now. All right. So and you've got to get good at reading and finding your own techniques, which is why I'm going to give you an exam in class soon. Well, it's not really an exam, it's a practice. Okay, just a practice. But because you've got to read it, understand it, find your own quotes. Right, that's the first thing you do. You work out what the topic is, the big picture for your first sentence. What's the controversial issue? And as you're reading, you're looking for you're looking for techniques. Usual.
For me, I would like to ask a question because I think I missed something. Do we have to write STEEL still paragraph for paragraph 3 or STEETEL?
No, yeah, you have to do the STEEL paragraphs for both of them.
Oh,
For
okay.
paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Maria.
Yes, I've learned that to follow your scaffold like STETL, and then I learned that the usage of code is important. Like we need to include that, and also we need to analyze the test, not like summarizing. Yeah, I learned about that.
Yeah, that's what the weaker students summarize the text. But yes, you've got to analyze it, and the only way you can analyze it, the analysis is actually that second E in T. So yeah, that's what makes them know that you've analyzed it. So that's really crucial, and it's a difficult thing to do well. I've had to teach you a lot of things really quickly. There's a lot of skills in here that I've taught you really quickly. But yeah, the one that we haven't focused on as much is the effect of the technique. So I'll make that a focus of our next topic. Yeah, so I guess if no one else has got any questions, you know when your essay is due? Okay, before
Yes,
midnight,
yeah,
before
right.
midnight on that day, 23rd, I think it was.
Teacher, can you tell the deadline again, please?
The
23rd?
deadline, 23rd of this month by midnight. And if they all come in at 5 to midnight, I won't be happy because I'll know that you've done it at the last minute. I want you to work on this as a project to challenge yourself. I can't make you, but that's what I hope that you do. If you challenge yourself and really take some time to do this well, and I give you good feedback, imagine the sense of achievement you will have, right? I want you to feel that achievement. I want you to, really work for it because that's the best feeling in life. That's what keeps us going, that feeling. It's not the certificate. It's not someone saying you're wonderful. It comes from inside you. Oh my goodness, I did it. I tried and I did it. That is the best feeling in the world. Xylem.
Can I clarify something that should I add summary before discussing the technique? After
No, I think the way I'm training you is that the use of the technique of a historical event supports the claim and then describe the claim in the technique sentence. That's really good clarifying question. Thank you. Yeah, so do the claim in the technique sentence. It has a good flow. It's a good spot to put it. I might fix up that STEEL framework actually to suggest that. Thank you. Okay, Sun.
Oh, teacher, I want to make sure like we have to write like introduction and till conclusion all right.
Yep, the whole essay, 4 paragraphs.
Yes, I want to make
Thank
sure.
you.
Yes, also today
yep.
I've learned that like we can use one technique and then 2 claims. That's new, I think a new task. Yes.
Yeah. As long as, yeah, I mean, if you can only find one technique, then you've got to try and do it 2 ways. But if you can't, then that's the way you do it. You get 2 claims and support. There's all these little tiny, because every text is so different, you know, and I can't prepare you for everything, but I'm trying to show you ways to get around things.
And also I have a question, like when in exam, like the text without title, if we encounter this kind of text, can we mention like the text 1, text 2, like that?
I'm going to I'll start the lesson next week on that. Okay. No, I don't want you to do it that way. Okay. I'll show you a way to do it that sounds better, because they won't know what text 1 is and what text 2 is. They won't be numbered. All right. You just get 2 texts. It can be confusing. So I'll show you that as a part of next lesson. Thank you. Really good clarifying, guys. Really, really good. Heather, what about you?
Yes, I have a question. So like when writing the essay, when is the best time to summarize the text to show that we understand the text really well?
Oh, okay. You could just, well, that's, oh, in this detail, you're just summarizing the claim. You don't have to, hang on, let me think. Well, in this introduction, I've trained you to summarize the whole text. On one hand, you know, text 1 discusses censorship is important. The other text suggests it's not important. You've sort of done that in the introduction. All you need to do is, when you summarize in the steel paragraphs, you just summarizing the claim. You don't have to summarize the whole text. You're just summarizing the claim. So have a think about that. See how you go. You can always message me if you're stuck. Okay. Well, thank you for bearing with that. That was really hard work. So well done if you paid attention the whole time. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you online students in my next video. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, bye.